Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jess and the Guest. My guest today is the very talented and funny Asher Grodman. Asher stars in the hit comedy Ghost on CBS, which also streams on Paramount+. Asher and I talk comedy, Ghost, horrible auditions, pilot season, acting, teaching, the great Brandon Scott Jones, and most importantly, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fun fact, Asher and I both went to Columbia University and spent years in a basement gym. I hope you like this episode.
It's lovely to see a human being.
You too. I
but
know.
The world may not want to see what
No,
I'm doing right now.
Thank
what
you
I look
so much
like.
for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me.
Brandon Scott Jones, he was my first improv teacher. Yeah, that monster.
Really?
But yeah, to a million years ago, but he's the best. And have you played tennis against him or
Haven't seen our tennis video? You
No.
have to watch. You have to watch. Go on my Instagram. We did a whole tennis video together that I think is hilarious, by the way. They wanted us to, in season 1, they had us do Instagram takeovers, and I had never done an Instagram takeover before. I didn't know what that was. So I was like, all right, we'll do a whole thing where we do like a tennis bit, this thing, and Brandon was like, this is way too much. But we went with it, and we went for it, and it's like a 2-minute video. I think it's very good.
It's your first comedy because you're working, I would never have guessed that. And I mean, that is the biggest compliment because you're working with Sheila's a groundling, Brandon's the best improviser, Matt Walsh, Rob Pugh was just how was that transition to comedy?
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I remember feeling early on, I know I've said this a bunch, but being oddly relieved that I wasn't going to have pants on, because I was like, all right, if I mess up a joke, they can just pull to a wide shot, and whatever I said is going to be ridiculous because I'm not wearing pants. But it's also fun. There's a fun challenge because I do work with these amazing people, and there's no sense of ego in the cast. We all go to each other and say, hey, what do you think of this? Would this be funny? Can we try this? So there's a real kind of a fun sense of play and trying different things and taking risks. And I certainly go to Brandon all the time, and I'm like, is this funnier? Is this funnier? So if I was ever going to do a comedy, I'm doing it with the right people.
Oh, well, it really seems like you guys all get along really well, and I have worked on a lot of shows where that's not been the case, maybe. So
there's only one person in the cast that we all hate, but we're not going to tell you who it is. I'm kidding.
See, great. See, now you got to go do stand-up and improv.
Oh, God almighty. No, those poor people who have to watch that.
Did you guys do a cast bonding night? I'm picturing karaoke nights or something. Maybe watch the Jaguars. I don't know.
We did. we have done, actually. We kind of had the cast bonding of sitting through the pandemic and wondering if our lives would ever happen again, or begin. We did. I mean, it's a fun, as the Jaguars went on their crazy wild run at the end of last season. Some cast members came down to Jacksonville with me and watched games, and then we watched the epic Chargers playoff game when they came back. We did all that all together as a cast. So we hang out, we have a good time, and I think being in Montreal and being away from friends or family and any sign of home, I think also adds to the we rely on each other. And now it's this weird codependency, because it's someone asks one of us to do something and the text thread blows up, and it's okay, are you guys gonna do this? Is everyone gonna? I just don't want to do it alone. Are you gonna be there too? Okay, great. So we're all deep psychological problems are happening because of our connection.
Yeah. How did you celebrate that win against the Chargers, though? Because I'm not even a Jaguars fan, and I cried, and what am I doing? It was so crazy. But I feel like you're the Jaguars, the spokesperson. You're
spokesperson. Oh God. How did I celebrate? I went through every emotion imaginable over the course of that game. I think it's on video, me screaming and yelling. I think I found a way in 10 seconds to lose my voice, which is impressive. I will tell you, when we scored the first touchdown, that was at the end of the first half, I become friends with Tony Baselli, who is their Hall of Famer, and I think I texted him. I think it was him, and I was like, "We're gonna win this game." And it's just that they had won so many games in that fashion that I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like this is gonna happen. And when we were 4-8, I was like, we're gonna win out. We're gonna make the playoffs. Like this team is, it was just a magical season, and they're built in a special way. So it's fun to be able to experience that wild moment and share it with all the ghosts. Yeah, it was fun.
And you went to the Super Bowl, right? I'm from Philly, so I was
Oh
very
no,
jealous,
I'm
but yeah,
so
very sad.
sorry.
I did cry after
Oh.
that game too, but yeah,
Yeah,
very
I
stable, very normal.
did. I went last year too, and last year was a great game. I didn't think anything could top that, and somehow this year did. Um, I was kind of rooting for. I thought Kansas City would win, uh, just because Kansas City really
Yeah.
outplayed us twice, and we really handed the game to Philly. No offense, but what a game! And Jalen Hurts is incredible.
No.
Um, what a game! The Chiefs kept running that one little I don't know how to describe it, but the motion and then turn right around and score in the flat play. They ran that like 3 times.
Yeah.
It was a great game. My God, and Rihanna was
Yeah.
incredible. Oh
Yeah.
my
I'm so
God.
jealous. All right, now for an acting question.
Okay.
When you first get a script, what do you do? Because I do the groundlings and I couldn't get over that everyone does something different. Like, what is
Yeah.
the very first thing you have to do?
I mean, look, the thing that I would love to do is like slowly read it once and like kind of sit in each moment and kind of imagine what might happen next and come up with some possibilities and then reveal to myself what's going to happen next. So I like understand the journey that the audience is supposed to go on and really like break that down. The luxury of that, which I think is the best way to learn something, is never provided because there's never that much time. So usually it's just reading it, turning it into a sequence of events rather than a bunch of words I have to say, like turning it into a story. So like this happens, and then because this happens, now this happens, therefore this happens, but then this happened, having a kind of sequence that I follow. And then once it's kind of in that shape, if that makes any sense, going from dialogue to what I would say events, then it's much more easier to physicalize and understand as a person because when we tend to tell stories, we don't give people a sequence of things that we said. We give people a sequence of things that we did,
Yeah.
which makes scripts a lot more easier to digest and keep in your mind.
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, wow. Why don't I do that? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well,
Like,
though groundlings, you guys, are usually creating the script on your own.
yeah,
That's the thing that you guys can do that the I've watched Brandon improvise, and he could just do a play on his own.
yeah.
I could never do that. I think that's incredible.
I think you could. I don't know. I think you could do
Uh,
it. I watched your
it
film
wouldn't, it
though.
wouldn't be entertaining.
I don't know. I watched your film though, and it was amazing too with Eli Wallach. No big deal, Couldn't get
Thank
over
you so
that.
much.
Yeah, I can't believe that was your first time directing too. Because if you saw my first time directing, you would be like, that is not posted anywhere for a reason.
Well, yeah, I'm sure yours is great, but that was I was buoyed a lot by having Eli, who I think he was like 95 when we shot that or something amazing. And I was so nervous because I was like, Eli Wallach has been around. So, like he was Marlon Brando's landlord. I mean, he'd been around for so long, and he's such a legend. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was desperately trying to figure it out. And he was so kind. He showed up with like gifts for everyone. He was telling stories the whole time. It was amazing. And I went through this thing after we made it of like just deep, he passed away, and I went through this thing of like deep insecurity. And I was like, I don't want to ever show this to anyone because this is he shouldn't he deserves to go out on a better note than this, or not even have this out there. And it took some friends to come in and talk to me and be like, all he did on set was tell stories. Like he loved to tell stories. Why he said yes to making your movie. Let people see your movie.
Yeah.
Um, so eventually I finally put it out there and dedicated it to him, which was the only way that I felt comfortable. doing it. But he was amazing and so generous, and so charismatic. Um, yeah, that was, uh, short of ghosts, which is a dream come true. That's the coolest thing that's ever happened in my career.
Like, I feel like I struggle with trying to do everything. Like, I want to film my own projects. I want to write and I want to, like, how do you do everything? Because you're teaching too, you're on a hit show. How do you do this? How do you do so much?
Desperation, I think, is a good thing. To a degree, to a degree. I mean, I feel like I've been doing this for 20 years before ghosts came along, and most of them were bleak to the point of like the first 10 years of my career were absolutely every element of this business saying, go away. You are not supposed to be here. Um, and I don't think there's anything that I do that I what didn't take years to develop and figure out. So I think just tenacity and eventually you invest so much into something that you're like, well, I can't give up. I have to keep going here. The funny thing is, the only time I ever like really considered walking away from acting was I had a year where this was like 2016 or 2015 or something, and I did play after play after play. Like I worked for a whole year. It was the first time in my career I'd ever like worked consistently. And after I did that, nothing changed. Like it wasn't like there were more auditions. Like it was just the same. And I was like, well, then what am I working for? Like, is this ever going to be possible? And I thought, oh, I'll go to architecture school and then because like that's easy.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I don't know how I stayed with it. I think it's just maybe I just hold a grudge or I'm just a little too stubborn or something like that. I'm like, no, this must happen. I must work. And I got really lucky that Ghosts happened before the pandemic and made it through because so many of my friends who were so talented, um, the pandemic really, really, had a disastrous effect on their career or proved to be a big obstacle. Um, and I've never been the most talented guy. Even in grad school, I was the run to the litter. Uh,
I can't believe it.
I've often been the run to the litter, and yeah, just tenacity, I think.
No, it's so nice to like hear you talk about it too, because I feel like everyone struggles with that. I've definitely struggled with it too, and the pandemic
Yeah.
really hurt a lot. But yeah, so thank
And
you
the
for
other, and speaking of the teaching thing, the other thing that ended up like, it's such a big humbling thing because I would help people and coach people, and they would be able to get jobs, but me doing the same things would give me nothing. And eventually I just committed to, I'm just going to help everyone that I possibly can. I'm just going to coach anyone on any audition ever and just make myself available. And through kind of helping other people and prioritizing other people's interests and experiences, that's when I kind of got to another level. It was kind of in the giving and I guess in the teaching of something, things maybe crystallized in a different way, or it just maybe put some pressure off me. I don't know, but teaching ended up being something that I think got my work to another level because it translated something into something even more accessible for me.
Wow, that's so cool. I heard this too. I don't know if it's true that you, when you're teaching, you do the things first, like you show them, you show your students. And I thought that was
Yeah,
so cool because I've never seen someone do that. And I wish, because acting, I feel like it's so vulnerable. Yeah. So I'm like, I wish people would do that. Like, yeah.
that's very sweet. I'm sure Brandon does the same thing. I think improvisers are fearless in that way. I am certainly not fearless, but I had teachers when I was younger who really messed me up, who were like just emotionally and psychologically abusive and manipulated me. And I think in part teaching is a little bit of like a sense of revenge against those teachers a little bit, where it's like, yeah, listen, hey, buddy, I know these teachers want you to like walk like 3 miles down the road over there, but honestly, just take 2 steps to your left, you're gonna get to the same place. Like it's like kind of unwiring or that thing. And yeah, I think that there is something in when I teach, I do a lot of things without dialogue because I think that dialogue is really the cherry on the sundae. Like so much of it is behavior that happens between people. So I will almost always do an exercise with a student before having, or with another teacher before having a student do it. I think it also just makes it, a lot of people just learn through seeing because we, you know, so much of the way we communicate is behavioral. So seeing something is so much better than someone just telling you to try to picture something and then fail. Like teachers who use your failure to teach a lesson, I find very unfair.
Yep, I've definitely been through that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I don't think that's very nice.
yeah, and
I find very unfair.
yep, I've definitely been through that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I don't think that's very nice.
yeah. And I have to talk, I think your episode or the Trevor centric episode was like the number one, the statistics were crazy. It's like the number one most watched episode of a broadcast show. Like it was crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
did that ever like sink in?
And with
Yes.
Tara, yeah, well, that's the Tara Reid effect right there. Um, did that sink in? No, because I didn't know it. But now I'll become impossible to work with.
Yeah.
My arrogance will just be off the charts. I'll be insufferable. No, look, I mean, I think again, the many years of failure will always weigh on me. And I think when I first got this job, I became very like a job like this always felt like it was a million miles away. Um, Upon getting this job, um, not having this job or like where I was feels like 2 inches away. Like these things, there's a, it's not that there's not like a huge mystery to it, but it's also not. I'm not explaining this in the best way, but like
Yeah.
there's a just kind of taking it for what it is a little bit. Like I have this incredible opportunity, and I'm at the end of the day, I am so lucky that I get to do this crazy thing, and I'm lucky enough that people like it. Because for most of my career, the only people who saw anything I was doing was a poor casting director who had to sit through it. You know, I'm digitalizing some of my family's like home movies and stuff from when I was younger, and I came across an audition I did at 16, and I like every cell in my body was in agony watching it. It was so painful. Um, so I'm just lucky that I'm part of something that people like,
Yeah.
and that I get to do more of it. So
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Oh, well, now I just have rapid fire questions, but
Great, let's do it.
what's the craziest place you've ever been recognized?
Oh, well, on the field in Everbank Field in Jacksonville, as I'm watching on-field warm-ups or something, and people are like, "Hey," and then from the stands, and they'll call me over and have me FaceTime with their mom. I love that. I think that's so cool.
Oh,
Because also like the coolest thing that I ever hear, and I hear it a lot, thankfully, is someone will say, "Oh my God, I love the show. That's the one thing that like my kids will do with me is watch this show." Like the idea that we can um, reach multiple generations, I think that's very cool. Not a rapid fire answer. Sorry. Okay,
no, I
I
love
can
that.
follow
And
the
it's
rules now.
really true. My whole family watches the show, and it's the
Oh,
only show we all watch. And
great.
yeah, they love it. And you're their favorite character by far. But
Oh, that's so sweet.
what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my God, my go-to karaoke song. Oh, this isn't rapid fire at all.
No,
Maybe it's like a Matchbox 20 song or something like 3 a.m. or something like that.
I love. I rewatched your episode of Law and Order with Ice-T. How was working with him? It was so funny to see.
This is not a rapid fire question. This is
Really
a
quick answer.
he's
Oh, that's
so
great.
cool.
Yeah.
He's so cool. I got really lucky in that episode because I haven't seen I've probably seen like 5% of the Law and Orders that exist in the world. There's so many, but very rarely do they let you be funny. And that character was so ridiculous that he would like there's a punchline of that scene where he's like, "Yeah, I know what I did with the girls is bad, but like they liked me too." Like it was that's such a ridiculous thing. And I remember them being on the interrogating side of that table, just kind of giggling at, I can't believe this is happening right now. But Ice-T was so cool. Just a cool, upstanding dude.
Oh. Do you have any like pre-filming rituals? Like you have to do this before like, a certain thing you eat, or I don't.
I certainly try to eat healthy. I'm not sure if it's anything consistent. It gets a little consistent based on like what craft services has. I guess I have a little bit of I don't know if this is a ritual, but it's very important to me to have the pants off before blocking rehearsal starts, because we've had many times where I'll get on set and the pants are on and we block a scene and then the pants go off and we realize we can't shoot it that way because CBS is going to turn into HBO. And then suddenly the whole day in my mind is like, I'm just thinking about hiding things the whole time. So I don't know if that's a ritual, but being fully ready to go for the camera blocking is a big one for me. Yeah.
Was it crazy to see so many like Trevor Halloween costumes too? I saw so many people
That was
dressed.
so cool.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to get something going season 1 where I was hoping that I wanted everyone to dress up as Trevor and take pictures and send them to Brandon Scott Jones. Just inundate his phone with pantless men. That didn't work. People kind of saw through my ruse. But yeah, it's very cool. It's obviously I feel like there's a age minimum for that because there are certain.
Yeah.
But Tony on CBS Mornings did it, and that was like one of the coolest things. And then I got to go beyond the show with them, and he and his wife did Trevor and Sam, which would be Trevor's dream. God, to be dating Sam, he would love that.
Oh,
As long as they kept it casual. Yeah.
Last question. I know your dog, you have a very cute dog. I'm a dog person. I have 2 dogs. I know she was on Ghost. Has it gone to her head?
It's funny. I think it had, Zazi's very consistent. She's happy-go-lucky. Everything is always great unless we're not playing. I think it was in her head before she was a star, before that she was even a star. I think the show just reinforces the natural celebrity that she already is what I will say.
Thank you so much for doing this. Truly, you're so talented. I really appreciate it. So
you're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Keep complimenting. Sure, yes, go on.
Madness, and then we're gonna be back. But the next one's gonna be a roller coaster. I can tell you. I know exactly which one it is, and it's got. I think both stories are gonna be a bit of a wild ride.
Wow. No, I just can't. You guys do such a good job. This is the best pilot I've ever read in a very long time.
That's so cool that you. Okay, and second of all, I completely agree. The only thing that I've done consistently in my career is audition for pilots. That's like how I got opportunities when I was younger. I guess I just had a WB face as a kid, but not that it worked. It didn't work. But I like read all these pilots, and this is the best one that I've ever read. I just think that our showrunners did a great job. The original concept is just brilliant, but the pilot is surprising and it fits, and it does something that other pilots don't do, which is it leaves you with so many possibilities going forward instead of like, oh, I clearly know what's going to happen in episode 2. Like I know the direction. This one opens up with so many different angles you could play. So I agree with you. I think I got really, really lucky with this story and concept.
Oh, and I give you so much credit for auditioning for pilots because I feel like that's the hardest and the worst part, or at least for me, it's been a nightmare.
There was definitely a Blue Bloods guest star that I had a lot more faith that I could get than this one, and my agent had to be like, "Calm down. You're going to audition for Ghosts," and I was like, "All right, fine."
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else as Trevor. So it's so crazy to hear you talk like that because I would never have guessed that. Like, yeah, I would have just thought you'd been working forever and you were great. And yeah,
that's very sweet. Our director showed me his audition. Trent O'Donnell, who's a genius, showed me his audition like note sheet when I was when they were seeing Trevor's, and I think I was the first person to audition for it. And next to my name is the note, something like, he's wonderful or this guy's great, and then never gonna get it.
What?
Because apparently the first guy who auditions for something never gets it. And so somehow I made it through the obstacle course.
Well, thank God, because you're killing it. You're doing such a great job. So
you're very kind.